The Dark Realm is a difficult place to live. Plants grow weakly and twisted in the lack of sunlight. Mercenary work and banditry are rife, as it pays more than basic farming or hunting. The realm at large is ruled over from the great city of Guardia, an overpopulated, sinful place ruled over by a baleful king that we haven't seen in years. There is an elven kingdom to the south, ruled by the sequestered shadow elves, a dwarven kingdom lost to the mountains of the west, and a tiefling kingdom among the volcanic rock of the islands in the north. Great patches of our land are poisoned and deserted. There are tribal villages, beasts, goblins, and orc warbands, of course, but we're trapped here. The mists are a mystery. Most who enter them never return. Those that do are changed in such a way that they are unrecognizable or utterly insane. Nothing comes out of the mist, but it surrounds us, calls out, poisons, frightens. Couple that with the almost endless darkness, and the Dark Realm is a very difficult place to live.
We join the party on the road from Gofreda south to Gore's Point. You will have had a full night's rest in Gofreda after encountering the woman at the temple, and will have headed out of town, I imagine, relatively swiftly, since you are kind of overdue for the time when you were set to meet with Orius. He said he would be in Gore's Point essentially a few days, which we'll say is usually about 3. This will be the 3rd day, so coming in kind of at the last point from his message, but that will be this day. It is very early morning, I think, probably when you set off. We'll say it is 9, or do you think you would leave very early? You guys tell me what time it is, actually. When do you think you would leave?
7?
7 a.m.?
I think we leave pretty early so
like,
we don't miss him.
I feel like we'd set pretty early just to get into, like, I would want to arrive at Gore's Point around, like, 9 or 10.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that'll be like the beginning of daylight hours that you'll probably arrive. So, heading down this coastal road, it's a pretty decent road, considering you've been traveling all over this part of the realm. The coastal road here is pretty decent, considering it goes from the greater city of Gofreda down to Gore's Point. Have any of you been to Gore's Point before, do you think? I don't know if any of you really would have done. Maybe even Will wouldn't have done. I don't know why you would have.
I don't think I've ever had reason to go south.
We kept this all this time from each other.
You've all been there. It's where you were all born. Yeah, I don't know why anyone would have been there. It's a very small little kind of off the beaten track place, but the road itself is pretty decent and well used. Gore's Point and Perio Port. The port at Perio being the one of the main access points to the Shadow Elven Kingdom at the bottom of the south of the map here, with little ferries going over from Perio Point to port to Oilane. So, yeah, this is a decent road. That is very good for you people, because it means there is nothing on it. No bandits, no things, no demonic entities rushing at you in the morning dark. No no creatures, no wyverns plucking
No
people.
navigation checks.
And no checks. You get free
So we don't
travel
roll nat
today.
ones.
I rolled 1 dice for you, and I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Now for like whether one crazy thing would happen to you on the road. Other than that, I think you're pretty good going, because this is one of the better roads and one of the better trod places. Gofreda takes care of its kingdom area a little bit, so it's not usually that dangerous. Although you are heading to Gore's Point, where some of the most dangerous people in the world are, because you know who's there. So I think we join you on this short journey. It's maybe 2 or 3 hours, depending on kind of how hard you are trekking. I think, do you guys have a plan? Or do you think you will have discussed a plan? Or do you think you will be discussing a plan now for your arrival at Gore's Point? Of course, Orius said he would meet you there. The last time, as a reminder for everyone, that you guys encountered Orius was at Som's Point, where you kind of entered into a very wary agreement somewhat, that you would go into the mist to investigate what he understood to be a point of importance. He understood that it was, and didn't seem to be able to get there himself, but you guys seem to be able to range out into the mist much further than people seem to be able to. So that was when he sent you guys very far north into the mist, up to where the first set of handprints that you encountered were, and Eldarin's grave. Yeah, he was like, you go and do that and tell me what you find, because I know there's something there, and I know I need to know what it is in order to continue with what I'm doing. And in exchange, I'll give you Darrow. Was what I believe the general, it was a sloppy exchange and a sloppy agreement, but I believe that was the kind of agreement, and then further information on all of that kind of stuff. So you didn't really hear from him, apart from these void enhanced messages that Merlin and Orius are able to cast at the expense of kind of mental fortitude, that he would be in Gore's Point to meet. So I don't know if you guys have a plan, or if you want to discuss a plan now, or if you maybe have discussed a plan, but what is the plan for you all?
I think the plan was to find Orius, sort of scout him out, meet him, but arrange for one of the Silents to be watching. Meet with him and talk to him.
That's right. You have a whistle now as well. It's kind of, sort of like a dog whistle, a silent whistle. That I assume Fire has right now, which will summon a member of the Silence. And you were told that there are at least 3 in Gore's Point. There are also 2 other guys that you sent off with information towards Gore's Point at one point. That you met all these guys in Kira, actually.
Yeah, I would like to be keeping an eye out for them as well.
Okay. In terms of your actual and active approach to Gore's Point, I think everyone give me perception checks, and I'll roll with those for the time being. Well, look at that. A 20 and an 18, and then 2 8s. So we'll say that the 8 and the 8 from Fire and Merlin are linked in some way. Maybe you're distracting Fire Merlin with Merlin bullshit, and you just constantly having to, like, I feel like you need one of those, you know, the what do they call those leashes that people have for their kids?
Like a
You know,
harness.
like
Human
harness. I feel like he needs one of those, but like
I
fire doesn't
beg
have
your
one, so
pardon.
she's constantly like doing the what do your elven eyes see fire, but it's just
Yeah.
Merlin getting into like another thorn bush or
Mhm.
something, and she's like dragging him out.
Well,
Looking through
you know, I
binoculars
probably
at
need one at
Merlin's
this rate
face.
because brain's on my mind.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
just a
he's
matter
just
of
looking
time before
around.
we go rapid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other two, in the distance, you finally start to pick out a few lights. You get the sense of a small village right on the very edge of the coast to your south on this road after a few hours of travel here. And you will be coming up and into Gore's Point along this northern road soon enough. Is the plan to just walk into town, or are you like trying to like actively scout the place out before you get in there,
No,
or anything like
I
that?
think once we get to the point where we can see the lights of the city on the horizon, I would be suggesting that why don't we try approaching from the west side? Don't go through the main gate. Maybe we can sneak into town if it's not completely walled off, and just scout around. Because before we go picking a fight, we need to know what, like, does Orius have all of his manpower with him? If he has whatever remains of the Leone Viperum, that could still be 30 men strong.
No,
And
you're
although
absolutely
Merlin
right.
has gotten very good at dealing with large crowds, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, we need to see if any of them are posted up in a high place or they have an advantage on us.
We need to be the ones in the high places.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do that.
Okay.
I think our plan is to look for an alternate entry point that is not the main gate of the city, because I don't know if Gore's Point... I mean, I don't know if we would have heard this in character, but do we know if Gore's Point is a walled city like Gerfreda?
Let's think. Well, you guys got pretty high on your perception checks. Fix and will. Give me, I think, survival checks, because you're not close enough for like investigation. This is like a lay of the land type check.
19.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Spicy net 20.
So I think as you get closer, you get the sense, with this thing being on the coast here, there is a sense of a very small kind of fishing harbor. The place is essentially just a port for ships during any particularly dangerous storms, that has got a small village around it, of very local folk. And from here, it's a pretty open area. There's a coastal line and a beach. This village is built up on the beach, and then a little up back from that, with many of the buildings running straight along the coast side, with a lot of them built up on kind of bluffs and man-made. What are they called? The things that run out of the rocks to stop the waves from absolutely obliterating all of the.
Yeah, the breaks.
Yes, a break. So the place is pretty open plan. There isn't really any like hills or anything that makes for a good vantage point from where you are. There is a ditch, kind of a moat that runs around most of the village itself, using the sea water to create a kind of man-made moat with a very simple wooden like palisade wall that runs out into the water itself somewhat as well. You can see the wooden piers and the small harbor. You can see that there is ships docked in the port. Two of them larger than the others, most of them like small little fishing vessels, the type of thing that wouldn't go out too far. In terms of good vantage points, not many. It's pretty flat, which works not too well, I think, in your favor of like a bird's eye view scout here. With the wall running around the outside, and you don't see any there's no like militia or any of those Gafradian forces, but you get the sense that being so close to Gafrada, there probably is some form of local militia here. But there's actually not a lot of activity going on at all. it's possible you could, with good stealth checks and maybe a good tactical plan to approach, you could probably get into or up close to the walls themselves without anyone seeing you. There's no huge lights that are lighting the road or anything like that. You would just have to navigate around the moat itself. For fire, I think fire in particular wouldn't struggle at all getting into this place by darkness, but you probably have a matter of 30 minutes before light and the sun comes up, based on the sunlight at the moment, the last week or so of when dawn has been. You will be running into that any moment. Approaching by night, pretty easy to sneak into this place as a small group of people. Not pretty easy if you're a huge, paladin in armor, but still, there isn't like a clear force outside. You certainly don't see any like Leone Viperum. There's no camp outside or anything like that. You kind of don't see anyone. It's possible that there are people posted right up at the gates, but I'm assuming you guys are far enough back that you can just about make out what you need to without being seen yourselves. So,
the ships at the port, do they look like merchant ships? Do they look out of place at all? Like they're too big for that sort of port? Or
one of them is absolutely the Lunar Star, which is a sloop that was taken from Som's Point. This looks like the type of thing that doesn't belong here. The other ships here are small little things, tiny little. All of them are sloops, including the Lunar Star, but the Lunar Star is a huge, large, single-mast vessel. The rest of them are much smaller. It's pretty blatant, I think, even from here to the two of you on those perception checks, that one ship is almost certainly the one that was stolen from Som's Point. But from here, there's no lights on it, and the sails are down. It looks empty, but it does look like that is docked here. The only other larger ship there is still smaller than this stolen vessel, but is certainly the type of thing that goes out as a trawler or something, maybe with nets behind it in the local area. There isn't a great deal of seafaring in general in the realm, so none of these ships look impressive. Well, they wouldn't look impressive to us with our modern eyes, maybe. But I think the Lunar Star certainly looks like the type of thing that is almost certainly a merchant vessel that rushes back and forth between Som's Point and Gofreda with cargo.
Since naval technology isn't that advanced, this I assume means there's not going to be gunpowder on that ship. No reason.
I don't think there is even
no
gunpowder at all in the realm yet.
Okay.
So no, there's nothing like that. There is no unfortunately there is no like pirate naval warfare. There is naval warfare, and there are warfaring ships that you would probably be aware of, like way over where you're from. Guardia, Regis, Efreet, and Fairness, Timorosa, not really the dwarves, and the area that is over in there. There are lots of ships, and Guardia is always aware that the tieflings run their own kingdom, and so they do have like ships that are built for war, but mostly it's kind of like troop carriers and things like that, and things that are not too dissimilar to kind of like Viking longships. On this side, Som's Point, Gofreda, and Perio Port is almost all cargo transport and ferries that will take people around the coast. Yeah, that's about it. It's really not. They're all very simplistic, and I don't know if any of you have any experience with sailing either, which might be interesting later on, but we'll probably have to cross that. See when we get to it. So yeah, you do see the ship, I think, that you suspect to be the one that the Leone Viperum stole from Som's Point. It's very obviously out of place, I think, compared to all of the other ships that are run down fishing vessels. But it looks very quiet. The Gore's Point looks like it's just relaxed for the evening. There's no, there's almost like no weather. It's very calm, very peaceful. No rain, no extreme wind. Maybe a very light breeze coming up off of the ocean itself. Is that you can probably hear in the very distance the lapping of the sea up on the shore. But yeah, it's looking real calm in Gore's Point. Doesn't seem like the Leone Viperum are, setting up to attack this place or anything like that, but that's the other thing that you probably would be aware of looking down. So, sneaking into town, relatively easy by cover of darkness. Potentially could be a small militia group that man some of these walls, or just keep an eye out for any natural predators that might build up the courage to get close to Gore's Point. But generally speaking, it seems very quiet and very empty, or just small village vibe.
Well, what do you think? Should we try to get in there without being detected? Everything looks quiet.
Sneak in and eavesdrop. I don't see a reason not to.
It
Hopefully
would
they don't.
appear the village is surrounded by a moat. Maybe there's like some sort of entrance from the sewage. Not really my preferred choice, but it would be an option.
If it's the last option, we can take it.
If we really must, then yes, we'll do that. But I feel like there's probably an easier way in. It's just, if it's a small fishing harbor town, the security can't be that tight. I do like the idea of trying to get in there and figure out where Orius and his minions are and how many of them there are before we go picking a fight. If we go picking a fight, which is also something we should probably sort out now.
Well, don't forget I have the whistle.
Right. We
Maybe,
do have that.
Maybe I could send them in. They could report back to us what we're walking into.
Also, let's not forget that this guy is, a mage. He might already know we're here if he has some sort of spell that's watching us, if there is such a thing.
He could also be on guard and suspect that might be something we have planned for him. I don't know, he seems rather cunning.
Sort of, but at the same time, I recall in some point we simply walked into the building where he was and caught him completely off guard. So, I don't know, perhaps he's more attentive this time. Given that his whole point for being here is to meet us.
Well,
But yes.
what's your goal for meeting him? Are you hoping for a peaceful resolution?
No. I'm not. But time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
I don't think barging in there trying to murder him on the spot is the answer either. He may have answers, and a conversation could be enlightening. I'd like to know what he knows. One thing I will not do is sit there and turn over all of the information we've uncovered and everything we've learned on our travels while he talks in circles and riddles again like he did last time. So, if we can get straight answers out of him, then perhaps exchanging what we've learned could be mutually beneficial. We are about to go tampering with forces we don't understand once we get out to that tower, and I'd hate to inadvertently... Granted, this sounds perhaps over the top, but if we're going to unleash doom on the whole world and he knows a bit more than we do, perhaps we should at least hear him out.
I'll follow your lead.
As will I.
The most important distinction, I guess, or decision here is... do we want him with us when we get to that tower? Because whatever's going on out there, I feel like if he's there, he's going to make a desperate play to try and take control of it or dictate the outcome. Removing that threat before we get there is the better option, in my opinion. Let's get the lay of the land first. We'll try to make our decision from there. Let's try and sneak in. See what we're up against. How many men does he have? There was another mage, I remember, in Som's Point. We saw her blowing the place up, if you recall.
Yeah.
So, he'll not be the only one slinging spells at us. If it comes to that.
Hopefully we can find the two travelers that we met. If he hasn't got to them first.
Right. I remember you speaking to them. What exactly was the deal again? I'm sorry, I wasn't within earshot for most of that.
I think they were hunting him down. Or trying to find him. Maybe they heard about the bounty, or they wanted him for some reason, so I told them where he was. In exchange for money.
Gotcha. Do you believe they stand any kind of chance?
They seem competent from what I remember. The group they belong to are not idiots, so...
Okay.
But it's Orius.
Right. 2 able bodies is still 2 able bodies.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try and get in there.
Okay, everyone give me stealth checks. Is the plan to just sort of sneak all the way in to town and just see what you see? Or is it just to get to the gate?
I think it kind of depends on what sneaking into town actually entails. Are there guards visibly posted at the gate?
I don't think you know from here, but I will let you know as you get closer.
I think given
part of
that
this stealth is just approaching from a relative distance, you know what I mean? So it's partly
Right.
like whether if there is guards they see you, and whether if there is guards you see them. You know what I mean? Before
Right.
any stealth shit is
Right.
failed.
Yeah, I
or
was
won.
thinking I might just step. I am keenly aware that I can't sneak anywhere, and I think, like, even in character, I'm well aware. Maybe send just fire first to check it? I don't know. I guess we just see what happens, yeah? We'll just do it that way. Here we go.
Yeah.
Maybe I just walk up to the front door alone and have the other three go around.
3 of you begin to stick to the shadows, move along the road, along the areas where the maybe the bushes are taller or there's a tree line for a while before you come to the edge of the moat which runs around this place. There are 2 small bridges that will take you into the north side and the south side. We're going to assume that you're at the north side here, so you're at that one. Will is just too big and clunky in this armor to really not be kind of obviously moving down this road. You get the sense that with him, he's not going to get into the actual village without probably being seen or heard in some way. Once you get close enough, you can see that it's pretty easy for the 3 of you to scale the wall and get inside the village, whereas it's almost definitely going to cost Will to try and do this. Like, if you're going to do it almost silently, or if there is a guard on the other side of this wall, Will's just making a lot of noise. It's just impossible not to in that much heavy armor. And I think on that failure, you don't actually notice anything happen. Nobody comes rushing out. Nobody seems to respond to you or anything like that. But the 4 of you would get the understanding that the next thing that you can do here is either just walk over that little bridge and walk into town and see whether there's a guard there, or try and scale the wall and get in to the town completely unnoticed and then go from there. The position you're in, you don't see or hear any guards though you do start to hear some people and just general ambience of town sounds. It seems like, carrying on the wind coming up from the shore, from the ocean, that there is movement further into town, closer to the dockside, you start to get that sense of people moving around. There's almost certainly going to be fishermen that are getting ready to head out with the daylight. And speaking of daylight, you start to notice that a crest of light begins to peak over the horizon as the sun begins to come up as well.
I'll try to avoid giving the other three away, but just like very quietly, kind of mumbling to them, go around without me. It's pointless. There's no way I can climb the wall quietly. And I'm just gonna start walking straight towards the gate.
Okay, and then you three want to scale the gate?
Yeah.
Right,
I would send Vita in smoke form with Will.
Okay, yep. Vita and Will start walking towards the bridge, and the three of you, give me acrobatics checks with advantage, because it is easy. So instead of giving you a low DC, I'm gonna keep the DC. Yeah, just roll it twice.
Misroll. Roll it twice. Okay.
Yeah, take the higher of the two. 15, 21, and 24. Easy as pie for the three of you to hop over this wall here. It's kind of like posts of probably like some thin trees around here that have been sharpened at the top, but like for you to, this is clearly up here for any animals. It's more of an animal wall than a thing that's designed to keep people from jumping over it and sneaking over it. So very carefully and dexterously you're able to scale this thing, hop over the top of it, and get a good view of the town. And from the north here, what did I write down? Give me perception checks, the three of you. Will, give me a perception check as you come around through the gate itself. 15.
15 on mine.
You do notice one guardsman. He appears to be wearing the same outfit as the Gefraden forces, with the green and the stag's head. He's leaning against the closest building inside the gate, and does not even, either he doesn't see you coming or doesn't care. He's just leaning back and looking up casually at the sky as you approach Gore's point here. You're definitely making noise, but he just doesn't seem to be aware of you at all. What do you do?
I'd like to, quickly glance around, not just for the guard, but again, the usual suspects. I'm looking for Orius, Leone Viperum, the silence, any familiar faces, just immediate, kind of stop near the entrance and take a survey of everything and everyone inside.
Yeah, the as you get to the entrance way, the guard,
and the two tiefling dudes as well.
You get to the entrance where you see the guard leaning up against this wall, and he is snoozing, standing up, leaning backwards. You get looking at his arm curled around the spear that he's got. He's kind of dug it into a cobblestone in the ground and is just leaning backwards, his head against the back of the wall, and he is snoozing. You, on your 15, do not see anything from here. You're at an angle that doesn't really give you a good look at the main street or the dockside or anything. You're kind of coming in amongst a bunch of the houses and a small kind of watchtower, but it's not really a watchtower. It's more just it's more like a soapbox looking thing, just a little squat building that you could climb on top of if you needed to look outwards. The other three, however, will notice straight down the main road, all the way to the bottom of the village here, the harbor, as the sun is coming up and giving you more light and the ability to see much further, you three will pick up on a figure that is standing upon the dock, looking directly at all three of you, a tiefling in dark robes that you recognize. Orius, probably about 100 feet away from where you are right now, all the way down through a set of buildings, past a very small little fish market area, and then there are two much larger buildings. One of them almost certainly a tavern, the other one perhaps some sort of like central hall, and then down onto the beach with a set of rickety old looking wooden dockside piers and things, standing dead center as if he was waiting there for you the whole time, looking straight up the center of this kind of high street. And you guys are really far away, but I think you all know what you're all seeing. Beside him is a very large tribal barbarian. Even from here, you can see that the creature has skin that is barely hanging on to a large frame. It is absolutely an undead thing. And Orius appears to be leaning on a brand new staff. Will, however, is where you guys would be at more of the south side of this, looking straight down a central street. Will, you're more on the north side of things, and you don't see anything, including your comrades here. The sleeping guard is leaning up against this guard station, but you'd have to move and walk through to the center of town. Again, you can kind of start to hear some of the sounds of the town and things coming through, and people moving around, but it's a very, very small town, and not too, you get the sense there's not many people here, and anybody that's up and around at this point is probably manning basic market or jumping onto fishing boats for the morning's catch.
Yeah, I would assume there's a lot of fishermen gearing up to leave.
You do not see any bandit-looking people. You see a few villagers scattered and moving around.
Gotcha. Given that I at least know the direction the other three went and like kind of roughly where they were going to go climb, so I'm watching up that side to see if I could spot them, but given that the guards are asleep and everyone else doesn't seem to care, I think I'll just like cinch up my traveling cloak so the armor is not so obvious and just kind of walk nonchalantly through the middle of the town until I can get eyes on the other three up top.
Yeah, I think they see you before you see them. You guys will probably, after you've noticed Orius waiting, staring straight up the center of this dockside, looking at you guys leaning on that staff. A few moments later, you maybe exchange a couple of glances. You see the large form of Will step out into the main street here. A few people glance up at him as he walks into town. Another kind of shadowy figure, but I don't think anything crazy happens. Will, you will probably also see Orius at this point. If you want to look down the street, looking for your comrades, you notice standing on the dockside, looking straight towards you, is this tiefling man who was once very old when you first saw him, but now looks younger. Not young, but younger than he did.
I think I am not surprised that he's already staring at us, because I was kind of already thinking whatever kind of magic he's using, he's just watching us with it from wherever, or at least from Will's primitive understanding of magic. He's like, yeah, wizard things, he already knows, of course he knows.
We still have the Staff of Necrosis.
You still have his staff, yeah.
Okay.
That is, Merlin has two staffs that he's kind of probably got strapped on his back most of the day.
I thought Merlin got rid of that thing.
I couldn't remember if we left
Not
it.
yet. I should have, though.
Yeah, I think.
But I think also I carry it for Merlin.
We're carrying it.
I carry it.
The GPS back to Orius, and he's like watching it on his.
Beep, beep.
Yeah. Merlin has
like,
his sort of natural stave that he brought with him, but he also has. You guys still have that. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember you guys actively getting rid of it. I think it was a point where you almost lost it, but that was it.
Yeah, I think we discussed.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, we discussed Ingeris, didn't we? Because we were going to leave it with the wizard guy. The army guy. There we go. Yeah, we were going to leave it there because we were afraid we were being tracked, but I just couldn't remember if we did leave it or not. Okay. I think we'd probably just wait for Will to join us. Just sort of stand and listen around and like try and pick up any details from nearby, see if we can like spot any travelers or like people that look out of place or loiterers for the most part. Like anybody looking like they're standing around trying to be nonchalant.
Okay. Give me investigation checks at this point.
That's an 8.
From all of us, or just...
Yep. Let's just say you all high five and meet up in the street and glance at each other knowingly that Orius is down there looking at you.
Okay. I'm smart.
Your best
Used to pull that
chance
good
at
roll.
an investigation is Merlin, and I don't normally do this. Oh no, you're there. There you go. I was about to roll for you. You're welcome.
Oh, no, wait, what am I supposed to
An
roll?
investigation check, please.
Okay, investigation, go. 10.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, a 5, an 8, a 3, and a 10. You guys are looking around, presumably for like anybody that looks out of place, anybody who's a bandit that's on a rooftop, anybody that might be an assassin hidden under a dark cloak at the edge of an alleyway. And you see none of those things. This to you looks like the most average village shipping, very small seaside village of all time. Nothing seems out of place here. Nothing seems strange other than the ominous presence of the mage on the dockside with a huge tribal figure standing next to them.
Well,
Yeah, I guess if we're thoroughly convinced and satisfied that there's no, 17 archers waiting on a rooftop or gang waiting for us anywhere, at some point, I'll just start walking towards Orius and wait for the other, I'm assuming the other 3 will catch up with me as I'm doing so.
yeah.
As you start heading down the street here, you notice all the people walking along next to you, a few of them giving you some kind of interesting glances, but pretty much none of them look out of place or look like they're staring at you or anything like that as they go about their daily business. For the most part, once you get to this dockside, you see quite a few people loading up these smaller boats, setting up lots of fishing equipment, buckets of varying chow being thrown up onto these little boats. But the centralmost dock at the end of this road is empty. No boats either side of it, and just Orius standing about halfway down it. The open ocean behind him, and in the very, very distance, as the sun begins to illuminate it, you can see that wall of mist. It's extremely close here in Gore's Point, much closer than it seemed in Som's Point, but not too dissimilar, with that kind of wall of fog that is just a little too thick out
Is
at
the
sea.
big boat being prepared?
The very large boat does not appear to be being prepared at all. No, that is at the furthest end, north end of the port. And yeah, it says the Lunar Star on it. Sails down, looks empty. It's very possible, and I guess you would presume likely, that there are some people below decks. You can see that it has 2 ballistas on it as some form of defense, but other than that, this is almost certainly just a merchant vessel. Probably has some comfortable below decks areas for passengers, but yeah, there's no people here that look like Leone Viperum at all. When you get closer, Orius takes a few steps forward. He doesn't look at the very large creature next to him, but the very large creature looks at him, shuffling across these boards. You hear them creak under the weight of the undead being, the undead tribal member. Orius takes a few steps forward, but holds his hands up and out in in a very fairly peaceful way and says to you all, "I knew you were close."
I had a feeling.
His
Hope we didn't
eyes
keep you waiting.
move across the three of you and land on Merlin. And he says, "I am astonished to see such a fantastic example of necromancy with you."
Yes, a lot has changed since we last saw each other.
Were I a lesser man, I'd say it was impossible.
Curious, why do you say that?
Your spirit remains entirely intact.
Unlike that one.
Oh. A shade of their former self. But no less dangerous. Before we speak. One moment. He turns. There are 3 books that are not in a bag. They're not on the ground. They are hovering behind him. It's probably an odd sight as they move around him. He turns as if he's going to pull them from a satchel, but his hand moves and one of the books of the 3 moves out and presents itself in front of him. He begins to blink kind of rapidly as the books begin to move. One of them coming up in front of him and opens up. The book that comes up in front of him is absolutely horrific looking, as it appears to be made out of some form of skin. And the other 2, one of them a dark looking thing. You get the sense that the darkness of that book is not really that the book itself is black in color, but is just a pure absence of light. I know that's a little bit confusing because of what that means, but like it is absorbing the light around it. And the third one looks like a traditional standard looking bound tome. The frightening looking book that opens up and the pages begin to flick, it lands on a page, and Orius looks back towards you again, Merlin, and says, A wish, then. It must have been. This is impossible. Your spirit is sewn perfectly into every part of your body.
Are you perhaps maybe suggesting because of, well, this circumstance, would I be able to revert things?
No. I am suggesting that you have brought me a perfect hostage. For a while there, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to convince you not to simply strike me dead the moment we met again. But I hold, and he glances down towards the book, a very powerful item that allows me to take utter and complete control of the undead.
Insight check.
Okay, give me insight checks.
Fuck.
Oof. 10 from fire, 15 from fix, 9 and 9. Fire. You've probably met some liars in your life, and this man seems like he would lie his way out of any situation, but is he lying right now? I don't know if you can tell. It is entirely up to you to determine that. I think probably the same for Merlin and Will. Fix, you know Orius a little better, and while he's become somewhat of a kind of a boogeyman to you, and you haven't really interacted with him since you were very young, so your perception of him might be distorted, you get the horrible, sickening feeling that he is not lying right now when he says that. He seems to be pretty much in his own way relaxed and calm, but I think on your 15 there, Fix, there is a slight wildness behind his eyes as he speaks to you, almost as if he is manually forcing himself to remain in this conversation. You get the sense that he's almost holding on by a thread to something, whether it be his sanity or a craziness or something going on. While he seems like he's very much telling the truth to you here, you get the sense with him that something isn't quite right. Something is a little off with him. He continues and says, well,
Before he continues to say anything else, as soon as he brings up the excuse me, as soon as he brings up the hostage thing, or right after he says, trying to figure out how to convince you not to strike me down immediately, I'm just gonna gesture to my weapon and say, my sword remains sheathed for the time being. We've resolved to at least hear you out.
Very well. I have no intention of being your enemy. I have no intention of harming any of you. Know this. Should you attempt to harm me or any of my crew, I shall release the gnome's spirit from his cold flesh in an instant.
What happens then?
I am essentially his puppet.
Yes. He will be gone. I do so hate to start an alliance with a threat, so let's call it insurance. Tell me what you found in the mist, in the north.
A grave. You sent us to a grave.
That much I knew. Whose?
Mine.
Cryptic.
One of my ancestors. Seems it was fate that brought me into contact with you.
You think it fate at work here then, do you?
Either that or quite the convenient coincidence.
I have
After all, you
questioned
didn't seek me out. I followed you.
Well, I think perhaps we have been seeking each other for many years. I think your gnomish friend there as well. I think some of us are intertwined with something greater. Whether it be fate, prophecy, or something we can't understand. I don't know. Do you?
I wish I could say we had all the answers by now. But I think even if we were to collectively put our heads together and unveil everything, we would still be missing big pieces of the picture.
Try me. Tell me what you know. What do you think you understand?
I know that tower out there in the ocean is some sort of a gateway to an opening, a rift between worlds. Some sort of a void realm, as it were. I know that whatever's leading up to this has been going on for well over 1,000 years. And I know that others have tried to go out there and uncover it, and they've all met their doom in one various way or another as the mist killed them off.
And of the mist itself? Do you know why it doesn't affect you?
It's not that it doesn't affect me. I'm just unusually stubborn about it.
And your comrades then? Why not them?
Near as I can tell, they are also affected. I was just able to temporarily shield the effects.
Have you been in the mist this entire time?
Not the whole time, no.
How long were you in there, exposed to the effects?
Long enough that any normal people would have been driven mad, if that's what you're getting at.
So you can extend your stubbornness to others.
Seems that way. How long were we in the mist? Does anyone recall the number of days?
I think it was 2 or 3. I've been 2.
I'm asking even I remember. I'm asking the rest of
Okay.
the party regardless to help bring them into the conversation. Does anyone
Hmm.
recall how many days we were in the mist?
What is day and night in the mist?
I know
It's hard to keep track of time.
honestly felt for so long.
The truthful answer, it's very hard to track time when we're in there. It felt like at least a few days on end.
So you have learned how to harness the immense power of the mist.
It's your turn to answer a question or two.
Very well.
What is your end goal here? And I'm not looking for a riddle or a cryptic philosophical answer. What are you trying to accomplish?
I want to get rid of it. I want to free us. All of us. And, truth be told, if I survive, perhaps restructure some of our existing governmental things. The Dark Realm, the King, he's mad. They are draining this land, and we are running out of time.
How
What
do
do
you
you mean?
propose to destroy it?
Well, I believe the Child of Darkness lies within the mist, and I believe you are going to lead me to them. That is all that I know.
What do you mean they are draining the land? Who's they? The king?
There is not enough resources.
You think there's a chance you won't make it back alive? Why?
I think there's a good chance that none of us will make it back alive. But I think if we go out there and we are able to stop this, it will change everything. I think it will free us. I don't know if the mist is a wall to a wider world, or whether everything out there is dead and we are the last. Either way, in here we are trapped and dying.
You never answered the how.
I wish I knew how. In all my years, I made contact with creatures in the mist, believing them to be its controllers. They were merely children. Mist is some form of consciousness, I think. Whether it's a stitched set of endless consciousnesses, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. All of those consciousnesses are dead. Dead people. From long before 1,000 years ago. I don't think they know, any more than we do, what they are. How to stop it. That came to me in a dream. With no answers, little more than a feeling. I had told you before I thought myself mad. That I was the one to stop all of this. That if I were to focus myself, research this, venture into the mist, eventually I would figure it out or meet someone who could help me put a stop to this. I believe that someone to be you. And I believe we are on opposing sides.
Opposing sides of what?
You're...
Because I think you'll find none of us are in favor of leaving this mist intact where it is. Don't believe there's a single soul in this whole realm who wouldn't be happy to have it dispelled
I believe there
and have
is
there be sunlight again.
one soul within that mist that is something else, or someone else. And I think that is what has reached out to me and varying others. And I believe there is another soul at work. And that soul is within you that has reached out to another set. And I believe that you have the ability to disperse the mist in some way. I believe with the help of your mage, the two of you are set to figure out a way to destroy it. I believe I was tasked with helping it to complete its goal. I think it will destroy it, or it will change it into something else. Whispers, years of them, questions I've asked it from the darkest corner of my mind, no answers. Those feelings, I've been piecing them together. I believe it wishes to be free, or it wishes to evolve, or it wishes to change. I wish I knew into what. I believe
Do you not
are...
feel that? Do you not feel that if you release this thing within the mist, you may unleash something far worse?
I believe that is what I have been working towards all these years.
And you wish to continue?
Well, we're back to our question of fate. Whether that is my fate or not.
Why would you knowingly help release some sort of creature from the mist that may spell doom for all of the rest of us?
Because one way or another, the mist will be destroyed. And one way or another we are all going to die here, of attrition. It may not be for another 500 years. It will certainly happen. It must be stopped. Or it must be freed. Or that is the end of us. It is the end of this realm.
Psalm's point.
Hmm.
The child there. You had him connected in some way, tethered to the mist somehow. When I interfered with that connection, when I held on to that tether, I felt the presence of this thing you've been consulting with. This force in the mist that's been guiding you. It was sheer malice. It was hate personified. I could feel its rage. And I could feel its power. And this is the creature you propose to release to save us all.
When facing certain death, yes.
Does it not occur to you that you are exchanging a long drawn-out death for an immediate one?
That is very possible, but there's something beneath it all. Desperation to be free. I don't know if it wants to be free to kill or to rule. Creatures that I am able to commune with inside the mist are not the mist. There's a demon of ice, a demon of fire. They are born of it, as are many of the abominations in there.
Right. So
For
about
all these
that,
years, I thought I was communing with rulers within the mist. They want what we want. They want it gone. They want to be free also. They are not the mist. And the mist is not entirely a singular entity. It is a sea of consciousness. And in that sea is a deep magic known as the Void, binding it all together, more powerful than anything I have ever experienced.
There are many factors at work. But the malice, that is the child of darkness. And that is the creature that I am fated to help and to free, or whatever I have been doing.
I see. What do you suppose would happen if this child of darkness were slain? If you believe it to be the core of the mist, would that not potentially release it? The mist, that is. It would not be dispersed.
It is impossible for me to know, but I believe the binding force is the child of darkness. I think it is what holds those consciousnesses there. I think it is what perhaps summoned the void magic to us. You said this tower contains a doorway.
It does.
To other worlds?
To the void itself. That much I can tell you.
Then whether it is bleeding through or we brought it here millennia ago, I do not know. Whether you are able to vanquish the child or send it back, or whatever you plan to do, I would presume it would destroy the mist and free the land. But who knows? Perhaps it could make things worse. Perhaps the mist is being held at bay, and by destroying the child, it pushes inwards further and asphyxiates us all.
What I'm really taking away from all this, Orius, is that you have no idea.
Nope. All these years, nothing but research. Most of it a wild goose chase. That's what I've learned. And most of it in the last 3 weeks.
So say we go out to this tower and you send the child of darkness back, or you slay it, or you release it. We have no idea what sort of effect this is going to have.
This is correct.
And you're just gonna do it anyway.
Well, as I said, we're all going to die one way or another. This realm, everybody in it. If we are the last of us, then why not? If nothing else, perhaps we can find out what it is. Perhaps we can inform the realm. There are mages here, powerful ones. They might be able to do something. Perhaps we can aid the demons who have been tricking me all this time.
What do you mean tricking you?
They were using me.
Using you how?
Using me to gather power. Like you. Like that thing.
They want the Child of Darkness gone as well. At least the one I spoke to.
You spoke with one of them.
We may have encountered one of the kin of this demon of fire while we were in the mist.
And what did it say?
It died. Without saying a word.
It was none too pleased at our presence there. The grave that you sent us to investigate was near the home of one of these demon princes. It is no longer. I would also be wary of attempting to any sort of dealings with them. I feel like they may be the grudge-holding type.
Yes. From what I understand, there are two warring forces, ice and fire. The two of them distracted by one another, but ultimately wish to break free of the mist. The things in there cannot move out of it.
Everyone and everything seems to want out of the mist. That's the one consistent in this entire situation. I don't think you're entirely wrong. You know, from a very young age, and through no choice of my own, was forced to swear allegiance to the Kingdom of Guardia. I served in its army, pledged my loyalty, took orders from its king. So when you speak of how they're choking out the land and how you want to restructure everything, much as duty compels me to tell you you're insane, the reality is, I don't think you're wrong. We are all slowly starving and dying. But it was no demon who tricked you into murdering the people it grants refuge in Psalm's Point. That was entirely your decision. And if you're willing to slaughter the people around you just to bring about the changes, I'm not sure how much I trust you to do any restructuring.
Would you not kill one to save 10?
I think the answer to that question, as always, relies more on circumstance. And whataboutism does not solve anything.
They didn't even get a choice.
No, they did not. Neither did I.
What do you mean, neither did you? You followed this path of your own volition.
It's true I've made choices. Dark ones. Things that I cannot be forgiven for. They were necessary to learn, to get myself here, to place myself in front of you, so that you can take me into there. Without all of those choices, we would never have met.
You know, as much as I would love to run you through on the spot for what you've done so far, I think personal vendettas need to be set aside until after this tower is dealt with. Because for all I know, we're going to need your magic mastery to control it and prevent it from unleashing whatever hate-filled creature dwells in the mist. But I am in agreement that the mist needs to be dispersed, even if the cost is high. We'll set aside our differences for the time being.
Yes, you might. What of that one? They look like they might still run me through.
You're very insightful.
Yeah, not to mention, I guess from my perspective, well, occasionally you'll look like a tasty snack. But don't take that to heart.
Yes. So you still have the affliction then? Is it hearts or brains that you need?
Never thought of hearts, it's always been brain on my mind.
And when you consume them, what happens?
Now,
Don't answer. Don't answer. Marlon?
Sorry, right. Stop asking questions.
Very well. I have no intention of harming you, and I am willing to travel with you to put this to an end. There is one tiefling among us who I have harmed immeasurably. Are you willing to travel with me to stop this?
I'm here to see whatever Will thinks is best, through to the end. I trust in him. That's all I can give you.
You were an experiment.
I know.
All of you were.
A failed one, at your own words.
I have had many failures.
And each one of them leading to another maimed child.
Many deaths. A lot of blood. Fire, ice.
We have just agreed to put our differences aside. Let's not hear any more about your past.
Very well. To how many can you extend your abilities?
I've never tried it with more than a small handful. I don't know if you still have an army of mercenaries with you, but I doubt I can shield everyone.
Yes, the Leone Viperum are nearby.
There's no possible way that I can protect the minds of that many people. I was already stretched somewhat thin with 4 of us. Extending it to 5, 6, maybe 7 at the most, but beyond that, they're on their own, and they will likely lose their minds as we enter the mist.
Yes.
And
I
even
made
then,
them a
keep in mind for each additional person that I attempt to shield, it will last a shorter and shorter time as well. I can feel it draining on me.
I had no intention of bringing any of them aside from perhaps clistex. She is a tiefling, bound to the demon of fire.
Oh, great.
But she has a wildness to her.
Don't we all?
I think perhaps it is best I leave the Leone Viperum here. Though, I promised I would give you Darrow in exchange for the information at the gravesite. I am happy to hold up that bargain.
You just need to tell me where he is. And if the Leone Viperum will not be accompanying us, then you won't mind if I have a minor chat with them over their actions as well.
They were a means to an end. I needed swords. I needed blood.
I don't need to hear the description.
Everybody
I need to
around
know.
you is a means to an end, let's face it.
Yes,
I
We
don't
are
need
all
to hear the
tools.
reasoning, I just need to hear where they are.
very well. They are of no use to me anymore, although, should we all fail this, or should we all be successful, they have plans of their own to carve a slice of the land for their own, make themselves kings in a new world.
What genius came up with that plan?
I did, to get them to do what I wanted.
And they were dumb enough to buy it.
Well, I needed only convince Massimo.
Who is taken over in his absence?
Borrow. But he is a mindless thug, for the most part. Between him and Mackin and myself, I brought them on the ship here. I need none of them, including the tiefling. She is mad. They are camped south of here in an old ruin along the shoreline. I will bring Mo here with me.
This thing?
Unaffected by the mist.
An unexpected boon, I suppose.
And what's the guarantee you don't kill me, Fire? We're no use to you.
Well, why would I?
That's the insurance. Why would I?
What use is it to kill you?
I'm not going to give you reasons why you should kill us. I'm not stupid.
I have no reason to harm any of you. I wish only for answers. The more of you that are able to get me those answers, the better. And you've made more progress in the last month than I have in endless years. I don't know if you have a part to play in this. I don't know if you've been having the dreams. I don't know if you are being silently moved across a board of chess, like myself, like the gnome. But I have no reason to interfere with it.
The gnome has a name.
Yes, it's Merlin. And you'll use it. If you're
Very
going to be
well.
traveling with us, you can at least show some respect.
Please and thank you.
Very well.
And
then.
I've spoken to the ice demon.
You can commune with it.
In a manner of speaking. But one of the things he said was he would be waiting out east. And I don't know what that means.
In my experience, everything they have said has been trickery.
It's almost like making a deal with the devil is historically a bad thing to do.
Who would have thought?
Everybody in this world is using someone else for their own personal gain. Whether it be the child of darkness, the demons in the mist, whatever has driven me here, you. That is my experience. I wish only to be done with it. I am old. I am tired. My mind is frayed. Frankly, I'm terrified to go back in there. If I go mad, feel free to remove my head. Free me.
Oh, I won't even hesitate.
Hmm.
Sorry, just you give the word.
If you go mad, I may do the same.
Are you on a timeline?
In all of my dreams, the strange prophecies, I have never seen anything beyond this point. No amount of divination, no amount of commune, I was never able to see past 3 days ago.
Good. Then one additional day is not going to mean the end of the world.
I will wait here, though. I have no desire to travel with you, to meet with the Leone Viperum.
I was not going to suggest you come anyway. I have business of blood with them. That does not concern you anymore.
Well, there
Is
are
Darrow
many
with
of
them?
Yes. They're all together. The last of them.
How many headstrong are they now?
They have people all around Som's Point, Carl. Afraid Akira. They've started to grow, and one of Massimo's final orders was to create a network of information. But here, just south of Gore's Point, there are 25, perhaps 30.
Very well.
Oro, Macken, and Clistex are with them.
Who or what is Clistex? How powerful is she?
I would imagine How strong were you, Fix, at 17?
Not very.
Then there is your answer. So she commands the fire. Perhaps it commands her.
Please don't tell me she's that young.
I've heard all I need. This one final element of my mortal business needs to be concluded first, and then we can go out to this tower and watch it all come crashing down.
Very well.
We'll be back. Have you already a ship? I assume that one from Som's Point?
It'll be too large for just us. I will commandeer something smaller.
Very well. I'll leave you to the matters of chartering a ship then.
Make sure there's some fresh brains on board.
Brains and hearts.
Right.
Next thing you know, he's gonna tell me that hearts have like some sort of nutritional. They probably do, though.
No, they do not.
No, oh.
I'm just gonna look at the undead thing next to him. Hearts for you, huh?
The thing is staring, and the entire time has been staring at... You know what? Give me an insight check for Mo.
$21 on my insight.
Mo's jaw looks as though at one point it was torn or fell off and was sewn back on, with stitching running down the cheek and across the lips, and back around the neck. If it could speak, it doesn't. It hasn't made a single sound. There are open wounds all over the body of Mo, but they don't bleed. They just sit, flaps of dead skin, blackened on the edges. The muscle and the skin seem to move separately in places as they move around, and there is a pretty distinct stench coming from Mo as well. On Mo's hip is what looks like a vial, and inside are a bunch of small bones that must belong to a rodent of some sort. And you are, let's have a look at insights here. So those of you that have been glancing at Mo throughout this will notice that Mo has been pretty much staring exclusively at the floating book, which is bound in flesh. and whenever it moves around, or Orius dismisses it, and it moves to sort of gently move behind him, Mo kind of follows it. Every now and then, when Orius begins speaking after a pause between you guys having conversations, Mo's eyes will drift over to Orius's mouth, and that seems to be just about it. Pretty much doesn't move at all. And yeah, when you address Mo does not look at you.
We'll be back come morning then.
Very well. I shall be
Sail
on
out
the
and
Lunar
put an
Star.
end to this. Till then. And I'll start to take my leave if no one else has anything to say.
One last thing. Merlin. My staff.
Right. And Merlin would pull the Staff of Necrosis from his back and with both hands return it back to Orius.
He takes it from you. He has another staff with him, and this is a very simple looking thing. It has a human skull at the top of it, with no jaw, just sitting at the top of this thing. But it's pretty much just it looks like it's much shorter than the Staff of Necrosis. It almost looks like a walking cane, or a scepter. And he has been holding that in one arm. When he takes the other staff from you, he stands with two of them and nods at each of you. He moves his hands, and the three books come together, and he begins to walk towards the ship, the Lunar Star. The form of Mo starts to move as well, creaking the boards, this huge creature, undead, and without looking at any of you, Orius passes by you on the dock and heads over towards the Lunar Star, and that is where we'll go for a break for the evening as well. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll be back in a few minutes, and you guys can decide what you're going to do next. I guess go and hunt down some bandits. See you after a few minutes.
Take a deep breath.
Yep, take a deep breath, and we'll see you shortly. Early, I think that makes it about, let me work out how many hours of daylight you have. Yeah, it would be about 10 a.m., I would say now. Orius said that the Leone Viperum are just south along the shoreline in an old ruin, which should be pretty easy for you to find. What are you guys doing now? What's the plan? And you're alone for a moment too.
The plan is vengeance.
Vengeance. I know it's vengeance, but how are you going to go about it? What are you doing now? You running, skedaddling straight out of town?
I think we probably have a lot to discuss about the conversation we just had before we move too far. So, like, as soon as...
Yes, I imagine once everyone is out of earshot of you. I mean, you're in the perfect position to have a private conversation right now on the end of a pier looking out over the sea. And once Orius, you watch him probably walk along the dockside, followed by Mo, get up onto the Lunar Star and head below decks. Clearly, he has been living there, while the Leone Viperum are elsewhere. Yeah, who says what?
What have
How
I
do you
done?
think Mo gets away with them? Sorry, what?
I said, what have I done?
Honestly, I think you made the right call.
You made the best of a bad situation.
Trying to salvage it as best I could, and not let my anger get the better of me this time.
What else can we do?
Well, I said some things to him that weren't particularly truthful, like agreeing with him or thinking he had a point, but really I was just saying that to ease the tension of the situation. His justification for his bloodbath that he's caused in multiple locations does not appease me in the slightest. He might think it's worth murdering entire towns to potentially save the world down the line, but as he said himself and as he admitted, he doesn't know. Massacred people for potential salvation. I imagine if you ask any of the people he murdered, they probably wouldn't have gone for it. He still needs to die. But, he also probably has a greater understanding of this void magic than anyone else alive, so maybe having him there is actually in our best interest.
He said everybody uses somebody, and I desperately wanted to tell him that wasn't true.
I just let that one go. I heard the comment. I don't think Merlin's using anyone.
We're using him. Orius, I mean. And besides, if we go out there and put an end to the mists, we're still using everything that he laid out before us. We might have our hands clean, but it benefits us one way or another. In some horrible, twisted way.
Yeah, letting your enemy do your work for you is not a bad thing.
It is when they do what he did. Not that it was artwork to start with.
Vix, I don't think you need to drag additional guilt onto yourself.
I'm not. I'm sorry. Like I said, you're making the most out of a bad situation.
I didn't mean to cut you off when you were talking to him either. I just thought it perhaps prudent to conceal the fact that you were communing with this ice demon, so I changed topic to our fight in the mist.
I know. But I don't trust. He has no reason for me to go out there. Nothing in this. But if he thinks that I have something he can't do, maybe he'll keep me around.
I don't think he would try to harm any of you, because the moment he does, he loses my cooperation, and I don't believe he can progress far into the mist without me. So I don't think he'd be stupid enough to try to hurt you.
No, but you saw the way he was, right? He's not okay.
No,
he's barely hanging on. And I don't trust that any decision he makes will be one that even makes sense to us.
It's odd to me that he knows the creature or the presence or the entity, whatever it is in the mist that has been guiding him, is this just malicious, aggressive creature, and yet he's okay with continuing to try and release it.
And he thinks the demons are tricking him. I wonder why.
That may or may not be true. You know, he said that everything they say is trickery, but if your ice demon said that it would be waiting out at the tower, I see no reason to doubt that. It has no reason to lie.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but it said it would consume you all. I don't know what that means.
Going to consume the rest of us?
Maybe.
Add it to the list.
Exactly.
Right.
Night called Orius a leech, so.
We did learn something interesting, though. this other tiefling girl, if she's bound to this demon of fire, potentially there's a role to be played there as well. Although I don't know whether she'll be willing to stand down.
I know he said it might be. When I was 17, I ran away from this. I didn't want any of this, and I tried not to use whatever it was that I could feel inside. And I don't think she's done that. I think she's embraced it with both hands.
Right. That was sort of where I was heading with this. I feel like she may not have had a whole lot of choice in getting involved in all this, but in some point I distinctly recall watching her incinerate several of the town guard without hesitation.
And I ran from it for a reason, right? I didn't want to lose my mind. I didn't want to be controlled by something I had no understanding of, and I feel maybe that's exactly what's happened to her. And she had nobody there for her.
The thing is, about your question about how strong you were at 17 compared to her, if you were running from and actively avoiding using your power, she's been embracing it. I feel like his statement may have been misleading. I fear she's a lot more dangerous now than you probably were back then.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We will play that one by ear, I suppose. If she's willing to listen to reason or stand down, if we could... I don't know. Part of me wants to save her from this fate, but if she's already embraced it, it may be too late.
I'd like to give her the choice out there.
Right. Although if we show up attacking her comrades, it's a done deal that she won't listen to us.
I very much doubt there's any attachment there. I think she'd turn on them in a heartbeat.
Given that there's a large crowd of them, another mage on our side would be very handy, but we don't know how far her loyalty to them stretches. Also, her power was granted to her by Orius in his experiments, was it not? So why would she stay with them instead of him?
Exactly.
Maybe she hates him.
She probably feels imprisoned in that regard. She feels like she owes him.
Either that, or she understands that she's no match for him. Either way, if the opportunity presents itself and we can have a conversation with her, I propose that we take it, try to do the right thing, but at the same time, I will not drown trying to save a sinking ship. If she's turned to embrace this, whatever it is, this darkness, I'll not risk all of you trying to save her. That's not a risk I'm willing to take.
Agreed. I'm not willing to take that risk either.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of them, but I'm not too worried.
Who do you want to prioritize?
Every last one of them. But there's a couple of them that are a tad stronger than the others. And while I excel at single combat and picking one, Merlin, this will largely be on you to deal with a large crowd. We're going to have to try and lure them into one central location so Merlin can work his magic. If he can unleash fire and lightning on them while they're all packed together, I think it'll make our job here much easier.
And brains for the trip. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Just want to be resourceful, rather.
This one time, I'll allow it. Eat to your heart's content. The one that he said is in charge now, Gore, he's head and shoulders above the rest, both physically and in strength. There's another one among them by the name of Mackin, who's also quite skilled. Those are the only two of note that I know of remaining. All of their officers, those are the big two. Then there's Darrow, the traitor. He's not a soldier. or a mercenary. Unless life on the road over the course of the past month has transformed him into somebody else, but for all I know, he was always a shrew of a man, kind of small. Though an accurate archer, so he will likely try to keep his distance and use his bow, or he may immediately flee at the sight of me. He never had much spine to him. But yeah, those are them. Also,
Do you want to personally deal with each one?
Much as I would love to. Again, situational, you know? If we're struggling and we're on our last legs and you see an opportunity, don't hesitate to take it. And if the opportunity presents itself, though, believe me, I will do it personally. And also, I must absolutely beg the forgiveness of all three of you, because I just kind of assumed you were all coming with me. But this is purely a personal vendetta. So...
We're coming with you.
They killed your family. Well, we're coming with you.
We're not letting them walk away.
Kind of figured you'd say that. But I still shouldn't assume.
So, do you want to stroll on up and do what you did outside the cave that time?
Just might work. You know, this whole saga has been going on for well over 1,000 years. I still don't know exactly why or how I'm connected to these past incarnations, my ancestors as they were, though perhaps not by blood, by some sort of connection in the mist or via the light or whatever. You know what I'm saying. These past personalities that I share memories with. This has been going on for over 1,000 years. And they all failed at one point or another. Eldarin dying in the mist, Vayne in the cave, Jome setting sail and meeting a watery grave somewhere. But I got something they don't. Those guys didn't have Firefix and Merlin with them. We're gonna do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I should perhaps be a lot more tense leading up to this bandit hunt we're about to go on, but... Remember back when we first started traveling and you were badgering me to look at the bigger picture? I finally am. Hope I've made you proud.
Yeah, you have.
I'd be crying at this very moment too if I was still alive and able to shed some tears. But here we are now.
Well then, would you all care to join me on an act purely of personal vendetta? Let's hit the road.
With pleasure.
Okay, how are you going about this? You have the vague light ocean, but yeah, I'm assuming that we watch as you guys move off of the dock, move through the town, and then head down towards the southern entrance / exit from town, and begin to presumably move along the coastline. But are you going in guns blazing? Give me an idea of what the tactics are as you approach this thing.
Is locating the thing going to be a problem?
Well, let's find out. How do you plan to locate it?
Well, I was going to say before we leave town, I'm most definitely asking, like, all the locals, is there a set of ruins nearby, and which way is it? And if they ask why I'm looking for it, I might even imply that I'm one of the bandits trying to catch up with them. Be like, yeah, my homies are out there. Where is it? I'm trying to catch up.
Give me an insight check and then an investigation check with advantage, and I'll just leave some of these dice rolls to determine some luck. 22.
Okay,
21.
and then you said investigation as well?
And an investigation with advantage, yeah.
Okay, so a 21 on insight and 19 on investigation.
Talking to a couple of these locals, you get the sense that they have no idea that there are bandits anywhere near town, so you maybe avoid kind of any buzzwords that are going to freak anyone out, but that you are maybe shift the conversation to like, oh, are there local ruins about that kind of thing? You're given an exact location. It's about 20 minutes casual walk, not very far at all from town, but far enough away that you're not going to find, setting off enormous fireballs and things are going to send any of the militia running over. You discover that there was what was just an old structure, probably once a sort of militant lighthouse that was part of Gore's Point that people sometimes find kids hanging out in, or people will stay in camp near the area, and that if you simply follow the road south, you can actually see it from the road on a clear day, which luckily for you, based on pure timing, it is, and that you will quite easily be able to spot it if you simply walk along the coast. It's a thing that's set up on a little bit of an overlook, so approaching by sea is an option, but you're more likely to be creeping up from the roadside here. Basically, can't miss it to a degree, as long as you stick to the road and look east.
Yeah, I think we would go for the tried and true, have fire scouted first and put our fire and Vita as well, probably, and put their stealth skills to use. I'll also pull aside Merlin. Merlin, I don't know how many magic tricks you've got in that pointy hat of yours, but maybe you have a spell that could have helped fire avoid detection. Can you make her invisible or anything like that?
I actually can.
I think now would be a fantastic time to try it out.
Alright. So before fire heads off, Merlin's gonna run behind her, surprise, and casts invisibility on her.
Oh, also, I meant to say this during the intermission and completely forgot, but if we're not going to end up fighting Orius in town, perhaps we make use of your silence ally friend. Try whistling for her. She could help us out in this fight instead.
Could take out as many as we can.
If you want me
Bad
to.
idea.
Well, we've already paid for it, haven't we? Might as well accept her services, right?
Not yet.
Now? Do you want me to do it now? That way we can kind of explain what we're doing?
I don't know, Brad. This would be the kind of thing we would have to maybe do weirdly retroactively, because I thought of it during the break, but we worked on. Before we leave town, can we try to contact this silence individual?
Yeah,
Or is it too? Or is
I'm
that
not
something we should have
treating
said?
it as that you've left yet necessarily. You can, if you want to
Okay.
summon up a silence,
Mhm.
you may.
I will try to do that.
All right, what
with
are you
the
doing?
whistle.
You've blown on the whistle.
Yeah, just kind of.
Absolutely
know
no
what I'm doing,
sound is made.
Uh-oh.
But
It's broken.
um,
We paid so much gold
give me a
for
perception
this
check.
broken.
we didn't give her
those
any gold.
Fucking assholes. Okay, but still rude. And I really, if they want to play games with me, that's fine. But
It's
don't
happening again.
fuck over
The
the
three
group.
of you notice that, like, within 30 seconds, there is a member of the silence approaching you from
I'm
an
starting to think
alleyway.
that they're not even
Dark
professional or
armors
trained
on,
in any way.
hood over their
Just street kids.
hair, and you see that they have two
Ooh, they think I'm so
long braids
important.
that run down, almost
in the
dwarfish style.
silence.
A taller
Bullshit.
woman than Fire, very, very tall, very long arms, with a longbow on the back, appears next to you, Fire, and looks at you while you're speaking, and it takes you a moment, I think, before you realize that they're there.
I meant worthless street kids as a compliment.
You
I'm
wish
starting
for
to
our
think maybe-
services.
Yeah. Yep, I do.
I was warned of you,
Does that mean what?
that you might wish for our services.
What else did they say?
What is required of the silence?
To tell me what they... Nope, I'm not gonna... We're going on a journey. A fight will ensue. And we wondered if you would like to assist.
What kind of fight?
Well,
The target is a group of mercenaries holed up in the ruins south of town.
I
I'm
know
assuming
where they are.
I'm assuming you're already aware of their presence.
Yes.
They have numbers. I don't think are individually very threatening. We intend to eradicate them.
Very well. You wish for another sword in the battle?
Yes, I don't think you're opposed to a path of revenge now, are you?
Nothing
That
matters to me.
depends. It depends to
God.
you, Silent One. You tell me, do you think you would be more beneficial as an extra sword in the battle? Or do you think an alternate means? A decoy, a diversion? I think realistically, rather than having you swinging around a sword, it would be more beneficial if you could arrange a way to get most of them in one spot.
For what purpose?
Engaging them sword to sword with that many of them might prove difficult. But we have, and I'll just glance down at Merlin, but we have a certain amount of magic prowess with us that can probably wipe out several of them all at once, provided we can get them to group up.
Let me see
Actually-
what this person can do. And then...
Actually, there is one other idea. There's a girl with them, a young tiefling. Think you could separate her from the rest of them? That would be an alternate possibility we could use your help with.
Well, it shall have to be one or the other.
Which do you think is more practical for you to accomplish?
You intend to incinerate them in an enormous ball of fire.
How did you know?
Yes.
The idea
did
had crossed my mind.
I am not sure how effective it would be to have me suddenly appear. But it could be done. Though I wonder whether I could escape on time before you incinerate me as well.
Yep, we do not want to incinerate you.
If you
That
wish
is
for me
not-
to abduct the girl, that will be absolutely no problem whatsoever.
She might not take kindly to being abducted.
Yeah, I don't know if
Most
abduct
don't.
is the
No.
word.
I can be a sword at
Honestly,
your side. I can be an arrow hidden. I can sneak in nightly, poison one or two of them at a time, thin them out. I can abduct the girl. I can attempt to create a distraction. But I assure you, if you set off a fireball and I'm caught in it, I will take it personally.
I trust
blame
Merlin's
you.
aim well enough to assume that no fireball will be heading in your direction. Right, Merlin?
Oh, no. And Merlin says that as he puts up a hand and it's shaking.
Well then, which will it be? So long as you have the gold, I am at your command.
If we try to separate the girl from the rest of them and she doesn't cooperate, she will likely blow our element of surprise and make this an unwinnable fight.
Are you
Perhaps
going
that's a risk.
immediately?
Well, we have the entire rest of the day and it's not even noon yet. So we do have a few hours of prep time potentially.
The sun has just come up. I assume that they're awake. If you wait until nightfall, I can abduct anyone in absolute silence, and they will be asleep. They will not notice anyone missing.
What do you think, Fix?
She isn't the priority.
If you'd like, I can kill her.
No.
I would imagine
I just need a chance to talk to her.
Well, if you want to talk to her, getting her out of that camp is probably the only way it's going to happen.
I don't know. I feel like she would defect in an instant if she knew we were going with Orius. But I don't know her.
I think we have our silent friend put her talents to use and just remove the girl from the equation. You can talk to her afterwards. I don't think we're going to need her assistance in the fight. And if she's unwilling to offer any kind of assistance, or if she wants to fight us, then it would be easier to deal with that separately from the rest of them as well. So either way, all I can see are upsides to just getting her out of there.
Okay. Could you not get her out of there and then come back and help?
If you want me to do it now, they're going to know something's up. They'll certainly
Right.
see me do it. Though I am quite sure I can get in and out. To what level of degree of damage am I permitted?
None?
What's
Minimum?
Minimum?
Maximum is death. I can reduce her to ash.
No, not no.
The whole
Minimum?
point. The whole
Minimum.
point is that
Yes.
the whole
Minimum
point here
for
is
her.
that we would go on.
Maximum for anyone else.
Hmm.
Not us, though.
Then it will be
Right.
loud.
Well,
I
maybe
shall
we
have
need
to
to be here.
create some form of distraction.
Maybe we
I'll
can be the
hurt as
distraction.
many as I can for my own interests and safety. I can put the girl to sleep. I can then cast a spell of darkness and escape. I should be able to scale down the outside of the ruin. We'll take a boat. It would be easier if you were creating a distraction for me than the other way around.
I think that makes perfect sense.
If we're going loud,
I am
then perhaps you create the distraction at the entrance of the ruin, and
oh, don't you worry, I have a
Right.
genius plan.
opportunity, I shall take the girl.
Okay.
I'll draw their attention. You find the girl. As minimal damage as possible. Get her out of there, and we'll recollect her from you in the harbor. Not in the harbor, actually. Anywhere but that.
Where would you like me to deliver?
Is there any other convenient meeting points around the outskirts of town?
At the
We've crossed a bridge on the north end of town on our way in. Meet us on the
south.
far side of the bridge.
The south side. Follow the wall to the water's edge. It is dark
That
down
works.
there. The land is rubble and rocks.
That works.
Very well.
Just be careful.
Hmm.
Don't underestimate her.
Understood.
Do keep in mind that the girl has some magic talent.
Hmm.
Primarily fire.
Is she resistant to poisons?
Maybe, but probably not.
Well, if she is, I may have to be more aggressive.
Do what you have to do.
Very well. $100
Under cover
gold.
of dark.
I count out 100 gold. I hand it over.
When?
Tonight.
Understood.
And I was joking. I was talking about a different group of people.
She
When
looks
you-
slightly down towards you and says,
Why do you wear that ridiculous thing?
What? The wig?
Hmm. You can't hide in broad daylight. Were you untrained?
Just show her fire.
I have the white streaks at the front. And I didn't want to be me for a while. You know?
Outcast.
Yeah. Pretty noticeable.
I am Amara. See you tonight. Hopefully you do not see me.
she walks away.
Fire, your negotiation skills never cease to amaze me.
I know. I don't know why they make me so nervous.
I mean, there's something to do with them being ruthless killing machines.
Well, it's like... I don't know.
They're ruthless killing machines that work for us, though.
Not for
Yeah,
now.
I'm not afraid of them as much as it's like if you have a crush on someone and you want to seem cool and nonchalant, and I go way the opposite way around them, and I just
Okay.
You know, when this whole thing's over with, I was kind of joking when I said you should just go back to Kira and join them, but might not be such a joke after all. It's the kind of thing you'd be good at, and you'd finally have a sense of belonging. Besides, they don't seem to care about your white hair. Not quite
Yeah.
so narrow-minded as your folks back home, right?
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't been thinking about it. We'll just have
Well.
to see how this all ends up.
Yeah. As long as you don't, do that thing where you creep up behind us and don't talk to us unless it's in a strange, quiet riddle
I-
sort of way.
Absolutely, I'm going to do that.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
You'll get halfway through it, and then you'll say something snarky.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed.
We'll see.
We know so, because we know the fire in you.
So I guess we wait till nightfall? Question mark?
Yeah, I
Just
guess.
next to you is the tavern. I would imagine that you can tell after standing around this long. There is 2 very large buildings in town. Other than that, everything is just kind of ramshackle, smaller buildings. A couple of like stores, but for the most part seems to be places where you would live. There are a couple of warehouses that most likely store things for the ships or stock. One of the buildings to the north side looks like almost certainly some sort of town center or a hall of some kind. But on the other side, you will have most likely spotted or been standing around long enough to notice that there is a tavern known as the Iron Chest, which is an interesting looking thing. It has a kind of waterside overlooking the harbor with a large rest area outside, and you'll actually see a bunch of local fishermen with their rods out catching while they drink. And it's a pretty large looking building and a decent looking tavern for the sort of rundown small village here. It's right there if you wanted to pass the time. That would probably be the place to do it. Alternatively, you could ask if Orius wants to make you a cup of tea on the Lunar Star, but I'm going to guess that he probably will turn you away.
I think
Never
the
know.
mere presence of Orius in town is enough to make me not really want to wait in town. I think I would prefer to set up a stakeout, like a long distance observation of the place where these guys are hiding out, and wait till nightfall, but like see if I can observe them coming or going, and if they're up to anything, head
You
count,
know
that
what?
sort of thing.
That is a really fucking good idea. Or is it? Let's find out. Okay. Then, then I think probably Will, you probably just explain this to them. And I guess let's just do group checks. As you guys head out of town. I'm gonna do it.
He's gonna do it.
I'm gonna railroad you out of town. You guys head on out of town, and I think like there's probably some discussion of like, should we go to the tavern? And then Will it will suggest that it's a good idea to head out and try and find the location and things like that. So also by daylight, it'll be a lot easier to find this place. But I guess it would also make it easier for them to spot you coming down the road. So let's go with a group perception check. Everyone give me a perception check, and you have to beat a 40. And this is not to spot the place.
Okay. I think here is perception. I think my primary focus is going to be making sure not to go close. Like, I am aware that I'm not sneaky, so I want to go nowhere near it.
Yeah.
I want to
I won't railroad you into the. I'm not going to railroad you into
I'm
the
getting
building.
off the train before the railroad reaches that
This
place.
is because what we're doing now is that they have their own scouts and they have their own, people that are checking the road. Who knows when the town militia might storm the place. They're clearly Orius has told them to stay out of town to avoid causing a fuss and draw, because they would most certainly draw attention, and also if they're identified, the kingdom is after them, so they would probably send people. So they have their own scouts out, and this is to see whether you see anything like that going on. What did you get in total there?
I think it's 52.
Well over 40.
Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, so that's your perceptions, and I'll give you everything you see then. So you, as a group, move out of town. You were told it's only a 20-minute short walk, so it will probably be a thing where I'm assuming you're not on the road. You would probably find some way to stay off of the road itself, but keep the road in sight whilst also keeping the shoreline in sight, so that you can tell when the ruins are coming up, and then begin to scan the location for any of their own scouts, or see if they have any patrols going out or anything like that. After probably only about 10 minutes or so, maybe Fire notices like a movement in the bush. Fix and Merlin bringing your eye lines up to see what could be going on. You notice that there is a very tall-looking elf moving through the underbrush on the other side, the further side of the road. The ruins are still not in sight yet, but this scout seems to be moving away from you, allowing you to begin to follow them back towards where they came from. You can follow this scout if you'd like, and keep tabs on them, or you can let them go back.
Does it appear that this scout has spotted us?
Not at all. They appear to be
Okay.
heading back, like they've scouted out this far, and now they're turning and heading back to ruin.
Yeah, if it's still relatively early in the day and we like capture or kill the scout, and the scout doesn't return to check in after several hours, I feel like they're gonna know something's wrong. So I would just hold up a hand and shake my head like, no, just leave this one alone.
Okay, yeah. The scout disappears further down the road. Sticking to the other side of the road, eventually you guys can start moving again. Give me another set of perception checks. I'll set it at 40 again. And then let's have a set of survival checks at 40 again. And this is to find a good stakeout position. Wow. Did you make it? Yeah.
Well,
No?
I didn't know what's Will's. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Will
I
did
didn't.
it.
We're
Will
fine.
did it. Yeah, you, okay, so with eyes peeled and moving down this this road, eventually you are able to make out in the distance what looks like a structure. It looks almost like it would maybe be more like a barn or something in that kind of a shape. It looks like it was just a huge hall, but it's certainly made out of stone. It's all fallen to ruin. This thing has certainly not been a standing building for a long time. There's a kind of rounded tower on one side of it, partially running down into the water side, which has absolutely fallen to ruin. For the most part, it's kind of just the remnants of what was walls. In places, the wall probably still stands, interior walls as well, at maybe the highest about 15 feet or so, but this whole thing is little more than a blueprint of a building. You can see movement down there as well. You can see campfires down there as well. They aren't really trying to hide themselves, but because you're looking for them, it was a lot more obvious to you. A passing patrol or wagon or something might notice some people down there, but they don't necessarily look exactly like bandits. Most of them and the people moving down there are just about far enough away from the road that they could be anyone. There's a decent group of them, but you probably, well, what did you get? You got some nat 20s in there, so yeah, I think you can count that there is not 30 people there. You count about 20 of them. During the time you're scouting, you're looking for their scouts. They seem to have 2 people posted on the furthest, closest end of the structure itself, which is still quite far off of the road and a little down towards the shoreline, so it gives you actually a decent perspective from up here. You get the sense that those 2 scouts are really almost like doorman level. They're not really sitting there watching the road. It's more just make sure someone is alert nearby. There's some like light movement in there. You get the idea that maybe they're kind of camping out right now, and they seem to be quite relaxed and not on like a high alert. But there doesn't seem to be enough of them. However, you do find a good vantage point, an area on the other side of the road that's high enough up that you can kind of keep a good eye on the area and come see who's coming and going. Then I guess begins the stakeout itself as you guys remain up here I will take a group stealth check and we'll set it at 40 again. 40 is essentially a DC of 10 for 4 people, so it's an average.
What if I sit stationary and
which I
never
think
move?
is like I'm bringing. If anything, it should be maybe a little harder because none of you are. There's pluses and minuses all over the place here. Will has some tactical advantage, and Fire is naturally very stealthy. But I don't know if any of you have really ever had to hide from what could be 30 people before in an opportune position to be able to scout them out and stay there. So I think it averages out as a nice average 10. What is that? You did it though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to show my working as a DM there, because I think a lot of DMs watching other DMs are like, they're just throwing numbers around. I try not to do it, but it's all quick math, but not math. So,
we totaled 52.
52.
On the 40 check. I contributed with my natural one.
You guys are good, and I think for the next few hours, you sit here and you learn some stuff, and I'll give you the information. They have a group that goes out and patrols up and down the road. At one point, maybe after about an hour or so, you see about 10 of these bandits return to the camp. They are coming back with packs. They move to the center of the group, and the group bundle up and throw a bunch of things on the ground. Clearly, this group of 10 went out and hit a car on the road or something, and they come back and they show whatever they've got. It seemed to be mostly food as they started kicking up their campfires and cooking some food. And then about 2 hours or so after that, another group of 10 head out, heading away from Gore's Point, heading south down the road. They're still living that bandit lifestyle, with them using this as kind of the hideout, not hiding too much, but also still sending out groups to hit the road. I think after about 2 hours after they had left, you notice that group of 10 return again. They're on a kind of cycle of group leaves every 2 hours. So let's work this out, and returns every 2 hours. So I'm just going to work out the exact time for you because it might be useful. I don't know if you want to use it, but I do. So let me... you guys would have left about 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. You did a 20-minute walk, so I'm just going to round that down to nothing. So 11 a.m. They came back after 2 hours. So the 2-hour cycle is 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and then 3 p.m. Wow, I can type really well. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? About every 2 hours, a group returns, and then leaves, and then returns again. Do you want me to do this all the way up until nightfall? Because I don't know what other information you'd be using.
No, if that's just the main thing we got. So every 2 hours they send out a group, and then they tend to return how long later?
Yes. What it means is this for you, and this was an accident, but I love it. It means that you can either hit them when there are 10 people away, so there's 10 less of them, or you can hit them just as that group returns, because they all tend to bundle up and see what loot they got. But there will be 10 more of them there.
Right.
And I think really that is the most pivotal information. You do notice every now and then a scout will go up towards Gore's Point just to check that there isn't like a militia building. Is you get the idea, is that kind of a thing. But generally speaking, that's just like one scout that runs up the road and runs back down. And I think during that time, every time you guys all hunker down and wait for them to pass and stuff. But that seems to be kind of less. That's just they do that randomly.
Okay.
That's it. Now I am willing to fast forward through to, you know, when you do the Skyrim wait here for 9 hours thing until dark.
Press T and put the slider on
until dark.
There is one question that's kind of going to impact my answer pretty heavily, which is, can I spot the leaders?
Absolutely, yes. You recognize the people that you wish to recognize. You recognize down there.
So I don't actually know what Mackin looks like. I don't think. I've never actually seen his face. But I can probably spot Boro because he's huge, and I can spot Darrow if he's with them.
Yep.
I know Mackin by name.
Yeah, Mackin probably just fits in and blends among the other bandits that are down there. There are a couple of orcs down there with the group, with the Leone Viperum. For the most part, it seems to be humans, and there are a few elves who tend to be the scouts. There are so you would recognize Boro. Boro for the most part doesn't move. The reason you can pick Boro out is that Boro seems to be sitting almost like a king at the far end of the ruin. It's actually, he's so far away and so lost among the walls that exist that I think you only get a glimpse of him once or twice. But he is absolutely enormous. One of the biggest orcs any of you might have ever laid your eyes on, and just warrior bred. Everything you could imagine. This huge orc with a huge ponytail of hair that runs all the way down his back, covered in scarification, battle scars, and tattoos, and wearing an enormous wolfskin coat. You recognize Darrow for sure. Darrow looks not good, I think, compared to how you remember him, just being a Fletcher in town. He looks haggard, and you see him a bunch. He is moving around and seems to be moving between the groups as they sit or sleep during the day, or maybe they're kind of grouping up and just having conversations among themselves because they're all friends, right? Darrow doesn't seem comfortable. He moves around a lot. Doesn't seem like he belongs. And then the third person that would stand out to you would be the tiefling clistex. Every now and then, there's just fire bolts that launch at things. And I think maybe that would be the most obvious thing, because she seems to just be continually drawing up flame and firing them at things. And bits of this lighthouse, maybe at one point you see her kind of just launching off these fire-based spells and watching the rubble fall into the sea. Almost childlike, but also kind of wild, little maniacal. I guess so you wouldn't recognize Mackin necessarily. For the most part, it's just groups that are moving around. They're quite spread out, kinda, in the separate rooms as well. The fireball strat would be useful for taking out probably a room of them, but down there you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of 6 rooms. Again, this isn't a proper structure, but there are walls that might impede the fireball's ability to fill the full 30 foot radius thing. So yeah, that's kind of the info. I think that makes sense. Most of them just look like bandits, and a couple of them look like a bigger, stronger orcs. Boro by far looks like a legitimate warrior. The same way people probably look at Will, honestly. He comes in and he's got that hardened look to him, like he's seen battle, and he's got these weapons and that wealth of knowledge that comes with actually active battle and service. Boro has that kind of sense to him. I don't know if you'd really recognize. There doesn't seem to be any tactics beyond the basic banditry tactics of send them out. Let's see here. So this would be, let me just find out when the sun sets. About 7 p.m, wouldn't it? So that works out well. Leaves. Okay, the sun sets around 7 p.m, which is about the time that one of these groups is going to leave. So.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards go in when there's
less of them.
And you told
Amara when night falls, but she was going to just wait for you to create a ruckus, right?
Yes.
And she is probably... You know what? Give me another group perception, and you need to be 85.
She's standing behind me again and I'm talking shit again.
Yeah, I'm thinking if she's staking out the area as well, she might find us.
Yeah. She's probably here somewhere.
Just a 56. That's close enough.
Yeah, she's probably here somewhere is the sense you get.
You say the tiefling was going out with them, or was she staying behind?
No, the tiefling doesn't go out. No, it seems
Okay.
it just seems to send out little bods out. You don't really recognize any of the Darrow doesn't go out with the scouting group. Borrowed never leaves, even the bank room. And Clistex is kind of moving around. I think you probably get a good look at her every now and then. And this will be the first time, actually, that some of you see her, I think. Did you all see her at some point or not? I don't recall.
I think
we did.
You saw a kind of a tiefling just igniting at the marketplace, right?
You mentioned it when we were up on the rooftops. I can't remember if we were all on the rooftops to catch that view or if it was like just me and fire or something. I can't remember.
Well, I'll remind you anyway. From this distance, you don't get any particular detail, obviously, but every time you do see this relatively short tiefling, quite thin, she has a very pale pink hue to her skin. Her horns are very thin. They point straight up from her hairline, and she's wearing a cloak that is kind of a raggedy thing. It almost looks like a patchwork thing, and it has lots of scorch marks on it, bits of it kind of burnt and missing all over it. Just a kind of wildness to her movements, very open movements in her hands, and swings herself around corners and stuff. I think that's probably what you'd see from here. So let me give you what I just wrote down, and it is this. 11 a.m. they returned. 1 they left. 3 they returned. 5 they left. Oh no, I got it wrong. There we go. So they left then. So actually they're going to return at 7, which means they're going to leave at 9. So it's up to you when you want to hit them, but I would say one of those 2 times tactically makes sense for you. So they will be leaving at 9 p.m. Until about 9 p.m. there will be the full force of Leone Viperum down there.
I think we'll go for the 7. Well, because
if you hit it right now, they're about to come back. I think that's what's happening. The sun just set, and you see a group of 10 moving back, sacks and satchels filled with varying loots from some poor merchant down the road.
Oh, since we did tell Amara nightfall, and if the light is starting to fade around 7, I think we'll do it right as they get back and try to catch them gathered around with their nose in the loot. And I guess set up Merlin for the big ol' catch 15 to 20 of them in a fireball.
Okay, yeah. You guys watch as the group return. You maybe pick yourselves up from the area that you're in, begin to collect yourselves. The adrenaline kicks up as now is the go time. Presumably whenever you kick up a ruckus is when Amara will take that as a signal from wherever she is to get in there and kidnap Clistex. You guys probably start moving down the hill, following as this group of 10 return. You maybe lose a little sight of them and kind of now have to play it by ear as you, the 4 of you, move down the hillside. Will not being very quiet, but probably letting the other 3 lead somewhat. Actually, what are you doing? Is this going to be a stealthy thing, or are you guys just going to run based on a timing that means as soon as you hear them go, look what we got, and they throw all the loot out, that's when you launch a fireball in and run in, guns blazing?
So I have a genius plan.
What's the plan?
Again.
You can tell us what it is, and we can assume that's what you've been discussing over the last
the genius plan is I'm just going to openly confront them with the other 3 supporting from the sidelines, unless one of them feels they'd be more useful jumping into the fray. But also I'm thinking, because of the ruckus of all this crap being carried around and 10, 20 people running back and forth, I don't think they're going to hear me even though I make tons of noise. Like, if everybody is hauling tons of junk, I feel like I could probably walk right up.
Honestly, I wasn't going to make you roll either way. I just wanted to see what you were going to do. So, I think it's a matter of kind of trailing. You guys kind of trail the group of 10 that have returned in to their own camp. And we'll find out how that goes next week, I think.
Genius plan time.
Yeah,
Let's
genius plan time.
Blarg.
No, that worked out really well for you, and I'm not going to adjust it in the week. That sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but everything I said sounds sarcastic. But I was potentially going to have 10 more of them show up halfway through that battle.
Wow.
Which is why when you were like, oh, I'll scout the place out and see if they have any patrols coming and going, I was like, yeah, fair play. You just blew the battle wide open, kind of. Good shit. Good choices. Face down Orius in a verbal showdown, which I don't know who was expecting that, but we'll see how this goes next week. There's a lot of them, so this should be interesting to see. I have a feeling it's either going to be Merlin kills all of them in one, or it goes absolutely horribly, because there seem to be the two ways combat go in this show, and I don't know if that's me or you or neither, or who knows, dice rolls. Tune in next Thursday for it. Until then, we'll do a quick round of shout-outs. You can find out where to go to find all of these people and what they're up to and things and stuff. Let's start with Will.
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Fairlight_Excalibur, playing variety games every night. And right now, the variety just means League of Legends until Total War Warhammer 3 comes out very soon, which I will be binging on extremely hard. So come check it out if you want to see strategy shenanigans.
Nice. What about you, Leah?
You can find me doing lots of variety, playing XCOM 2 at the moment. I don't know, I woke up one day and went, I want to play XCOM, so we're just playing XCOM. And doing lots of Wild RP. Yay! Twitch.tv/Leah.
Yay! What about Disby?
Hi, I'm DispyRx. I played Merlin for you today. You can find me here, Twitch at Twitter, DispyRx. I play variety and roleplay. And yeah, thanks for coming out, everybody. Great session, everyone. Thank you for the good times.
And last but not least, Brutal Brianna.
Hi, you can find me, Brutal Brie, everywhere. I hate you so much, Brad. Today was really fun. I enjoyed it, even though I was silent for most of it. I was just in Fire's head, just like
getting into your future character. There's the silence.
The wheels were just turning, and I'm like, oh god.
Unless you're a group leader, you will have to be silent for the rest of your life if you join them.
Yay! It's my favorite thing. I stream basically every day now. I've been playing variety and then role-playing on Wild RP at night, so it's been very fun.
And someone else has been doing a lot of Wild RP, Brad Woto, on twitch.tv/Brad Woto, except for he doesn't stream it.
I haven't streamed it, but I might do. I was going to stream it yesterday, but then we ended Spellwind, and I was so weirdly tired, and I think I'm just a little bit unwell. Slightly. I was like, nothing will happen.
We definitely weren't up way too late last night playing together and making jokes in character about how we were going to be fucked
funny
today.
that I almost threw up at one point, and it was just so, when you've got like a cough and like it just means that like it all goes wrong when you're laughing and coughing, and I literally almost threw up. It was so good. I think I might actually stream some of that Wild RP stuff. I think Sundays. I might just do like one stream a week. So let's hope stuff happens on Sundays only and not all the other days. But I'm also playing Bannerlord on my own channel, and that's it. So tune in to Rime of the Frost Maiden here on Table Story tomorrow, and the final gift, the Warhammer 40k Only War show that we've got going on Saturdays at the moment. I produced that one, which means all the sounds and music is me sitting here eating cake, clicking buttons like Stanley. And then Wednesdays we've got Spellwind on until Witchcraft and Wizardry returns, and this will be back next Thursday. Thanks so much for playing, players, and thanks so much for watching, watchers. See you on the next episode. Is that the button? It is the button. Bye!
Bye!